Detective Chief Sarah Mitchell had just finished a grueling 16-hour shift at the precinct. At 47, she'd spent 25 years climbing the ranks of the Metropolitan Police Department, earning her badge as Chief of Police just 6 months ago. Tonight, exhausted and wanting nothing more than to get home, she decided to walk the 3 blocks to her car parked in the public garage rather than use her designated spot at headquarters. She wanted to feel the city she served, to walk among the people she protected. The autumn air was crisp, and the streetlights cast long shadows across the pavement. Sarah pulled her leather jacket tighter, her off-duty weapon secured at her hip beneath the fabric. She wasn't in uniform, just jeans, boots, and a simple sweater. To anyone watching, she was just another woman heading home after a long day. She should have known better. This neighborhood, just on the edge of the revitalized downtown area, had seen an uptick in street robberies lately. She'd reviewed the reports herself just that morning. "Yo, lady." The voice came from behind her. Sarah's training kicked in immediately: assess, evaluate, respond. She turned slowly, her hand instinctively moving toward her concealed weapon but not drawing it. Not yet. 3 young men, probably in their early 20s, emerged from the alley she'd just passed. The one in front wore a red hoodie, saggy jeans, and an aggressive sneer. His companions flanked him, one tall and lanky in a leather jacket, the other shorter but built like a linebacker, wearing a ski mask despite the mild weather. "Nice jacket," red hoodie said, stepping closer. "Nice purse too. Why don't you make this easy and hand 'em over?" Sarah's mind raced through her options. She could identify herself, draw her weapon, call for backup. But something made her hesitate. These were kids, stupid, criminal kids making terrible choices, but kids nonetheless. And there was something in Red Hoodie's eyes, beneath the bravado. Desperation? Fear? "Gentlemen," she said calmly, her voice steady and authoritative despite not revealing her position. "I'm going to suggest you rethink this decision. Walk away now, and we can all forget this happened." The tall one laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. "She's got jokes, Dante. I like her." Dante, Red Hoodie, didn't laugh. "Lady, I ain't playing. Marcus, she don't take us serious." The linebacker, Marcus, moved forward, and Sarah saw the knife in his hand. Her heart rate elevated, but years of training kept her movements controlled. She stepped back, creating distance, her hand now firmly on her concealed Glock. "Last chance," she said, her voice dropping to a tone that had made seasoned officers straighten up. "Walk away." Dante lunged forward and grabbed her purse. Sarah let him take it. It was just a purse. But when Marcus moved in with the knife, muscle memory took over. In one fluid motion, Sarah sidestepped the blade, grabbed Marcus's wrist, and twisted. The knife clattered to the pavement as Marcus yelped in pain. She swept his legs out from under him, and he hit the ground hard. The tall one, she'd later learn his name was Jamal, froze, his eyes wide with shock. Dante had her purse but had stopped dead, watching his friend writhe on the ground. "What the police?" Sarah finally said, drawing her weapon and badge in one smooth motion. "On the ground, all of you. Now." The effect was instantaneous. Jamal's hands shot up. Dante dropped the purse like it had burned him. Even Marcus, still nursing his twisted wrist, scrambled to comply. Wait, Dante stammered. "You a cop?" "Nah, a man, we didn't know, shut up and get on the ground." Sarah commanded, already pulling out her phone to call for backup. "Hands behind your heads." "Do it." They complied, all bravado evaporated. Sarah kept her weapon trained on them while she made the call. Within 3 minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. Within 5, 2 patrol cars screeched to a halt, and 4 uniformed officers jumped out. "Chief." Officer Rodriguez gasped as he recognized her. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Rodriguez. These 3 just attempted armed robbery. That's the knife." She nodded toward the blade on the ground. "Get them in cuffs and rid them their rights." As the officers moved in, Sarah watched the 3 young men's faces. The shock was still there, but now mixed with something else: fear. Real fear. They'd assaulted a police officer. Attempted to rob the chief of police. They were looking at serious time. At the station, Sarah sat in her office reviewing the arrest reports while the 3 suspects were processed below. Her deputy chief, Marcus Thompson, no relation to the linebacker, knocked and entered. "Hell of a night, Chief," he said, setting a cup of coffee on her desk. "You sure you're okay?" "I'm fine, Marcus. Just angry at myself. I should have been more aware of my surroundings." "With all due respect, Chief, you took down 3 armed suspects without backup and without injury to anyone. I'd say your awareness was just fine." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "What's their story?" Marcus pulled up a chair. Dante Williams, 22. Jamal Tucker, 21. Marcus Johnson, 23. Dante and Marcus both have priors, petty theft, possession. Jamal's record is clean until tonight. Employment? That's where it gets interesting. Jamal works part-time at a grocery store. Marcus does construction when he can get it. But Dante. Marcus paused. Dante's got a kid. 3-year-old daughter. His girlfriend left him 6 months ago, took the baby. He's been trying to get custody, but he lost his job at the warehouse 3 weeks ago. Can't afford a lawyer, can't afford rent. Sarah closed her eyes. She knew that story. She'd heard variations of it 1,000 times. It didn't excuse what they'd done, didn't excuse the violence, the choice to victimize someone else, but it provided context. They're asking to see you, Marcus continued. Well, Dante is. Says he wants to apologize. Absolutely not. That's inappropriate. Well, I know, Chief. But he's pretty insistent. And honestly? I think it might do him good to face what he did. To see you not as a victim but as a human being. As the person he tried to hurt. Sarah considered this. It went against protocol. Against common sense, really. But something in her gut told her to do it. 5 minutes, she said. Under supervision. And I want it recorded. Dante sat in the interrogation room, hands cuffed in front of him, looking smaller somehow than he had on the street. When Sarah entered with Marcus Thompson and Officer Rodriguez, Dante's eyes filled with tears. Chief Mitchell, he started, his voice cracking. I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sarah sat across from him, her expression neutral. Mr. Williams, you understand that anything you say can be used against you in court? I don't care. You should know, we weren't gonna really hurt you. The knife was just to scare you. We just needed, he stopped, realizing how that sounded. That don't make it right. Nothing makes it right. I just what? Sarah asked quietly. I lost everything, Dante said, the words spilling out. My job, my girl, my baby. I can't see Kylie no more because I can't afford the court fees. Can't afford nothing. I got evicted last week. Been sleeping in Jamal's car. And I just thought. I thought if I could get some money, I could get a lawyer, get my life back together, get my daughter back. So you decided to rob someone at knife point? I know. Dante put his cuffed hands to his face. I know how stupid it sounds. But I was desperate, and Marcus said it would be easy, and I wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking about the person we'd be hurting. Wasn't thinking about nothing except Kylie's face when I FaceTime her mama's phone and she asks when daddy's coming to get her. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Williams, do you know how many people I meet who have similar stories? Who've lost jobs, lost custody, lost homes? Hundreds. Thousands. And the vast majority of them don't decide to victimize others. They go to social services. They find resources. They ask for help. I tried that, Dante said miserably. The waiting list for housing assistance is 6 months. Legal aid is backed up for 8. I got no family who can help. I tried, Chief. I really tried. Sarah believed him. She could see it in his eyes, not manipulation, but genuine remorse. Genuine desperation that had led to a terrible choice. What you did tonight could have ended very differently, Sarah said. If I'd been a different person, someone without training, this could have escalated. Someone could have died. You, one of your friends, or an innocent woman just trying to get home. Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. And you understand that there are consequences for your actions? That you will be prosecuted, that you will likely serve time? Yes, ma'am. Dante met her eyes. I deserve it. I just wish. I wish I'd made better choices. I wish I'd been stronger. I wish I could see my little girl grow up. 2 weeks later, Sarah sat in her office reviewing the case files. The district attorney wanted to throw the book at all 3 suspects: attempted armed robbery, assault on a police officer. They were looking at 5 to 10 years each, but Sarah couldn't stop thinking about that conversation. About Dante's daughter. About the systemic failures that had led a desperate father to make such a catastrophic choice. She picked up the phone and called the DA. Jim, it's Sarah Mitchell. About the Williams case, solid case, Chief. We're going to nail them. I want to propose something different. There was a pause. Chief, they tried to rob you. At knife point. I know what they did, Jim. I was there. But I also know that simply locking them up for a decade won't solve the underlying problems. It won't help that little girl get her father back. It won't address the lack of resources that pushed these young men to this point. So what are you suggesting? A plea deal. They plead guilty to attempted robbery, drop the armed and the assault charges. Dante gets 3 years with the possibility of parole in 18 months if he completes job training and parenting classes. Marcus and Jamal get 2 years with similar conditions. And when they get out, I want them in our rehabilitation and reintegration program. The public is going to think you're soft on crime. Let them think what they want. I'm interested in results, not optics. These kids made terrible choices, and they need to face consequences. But I'm also interested in breaking the cycle, not perpetuating it. Jim sighed. You know, this is why you're the chief. I'll talk to them and their public defenders. Sarah stood in the community center, watching as Dante Williams helped a group of teenagers work through a scenario-based exercise. He was thinner than he'd been that night, fitter, and there was a clarity in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Remember, he was telling the kids, there's always another choice. Always. Even when you can't see it, even when you're desperate, there's always a better way than violence. I learned that the hard way. One of the teenagers raised her hand. But what if you really need money? What if you're about to lose everything? Dante smiled, a sad, knowing smile. Then you ask for help. You go to social services. You talk to community organizations. Churches. Charities. You swallow your pride and you ask. Because I promise you, asking for help is a lot easier than asking for forgiveness after you've hurt someone. Sarah caught his eye, and Dante nodded respectfully. After the session ended, he approached her. Chief Mitchell, he said, shaking her hand. Thanks for coming. How's Kylie? Sarah asked. Dante's face lit up, a genuine, unguarded smile. She's amazing. I get her every other weekend now, and we're working toward joint custody. She starts pre-K next month. And the job? Working at the youth center full-time now, thanks to your recommendation. Turns out almost getting locked up for a decade gives you some good perspective to share with at-risk kids. He paused. Chief, I know I thanked you before, but I don't think you really understand what you did. You could have ended my life that night. Could have shot me, could have made sure I got the maximum sentence. Instead, you gave me a chance. You gave me my daughter back. You earned that chance, Dante. You did the work. You completed the programs, you got therapy, you turned your life around. That wasn't me, that was you. But you opened the door, Dante insisted. When everyone else was ready to throw away the key. Sarah looked around the community center, at the teenagers laughing and learning, at Jamal in the corner helping with homework, at Marcus who now worked as a carpenter and volunteered here twice a week. You know what the real story is here, Dante? It's not about the night you tried to rob the chief of police. It's about what happened next. It's about second chances and hard choices and the difference between justice and vengeance. What made you do it? Dante asked quietly. Give us that chance? Sarah thought about that night, about the fear in his eyes, about his daughter's name on his lips. Because I saw 3 young men making the worst decision of their lives, and I realized I had a choice too. I could process you through the system, let the machine grind you up, and move on. Or I could remember that my job isn't just to punish, it's to protect and to serve. And sometimes, serving the community means believing in redemption. The story of that night eventually got out, as these things always do. The media ran with it. Chief of police shows mercy to her own attackers. The headlines were predictable. Some praised her, calling her enlightened and progressive. Others criticized her, claiming she was weak on crime, dangerous, that she'd set a bad precedent. Sarah weathered the storm the way she'd weathered every other controversy in her career, by focusing on results. Crime rates in her district dropped. Recidivism among offenders who went through the rehabilitation program was down 40%. And 3 young men who could have been lost to the prison system were now contributing members of society, helping to steer others away from the path they'd nearly taken. On the anniversary of that night, Sarah found a card on her desk. Inside was a photo of Dante holding Kilia, both of them grinning at the camera. The message read, Chief Mitchell, 3 years ago tonight, I made the worst mistake of my life. I tried to rob a woman in a parking garage. What I didn't know was that I was attacking someone who would save my life instead of ending it. Thank you for seeing the person I could be instead of just the criminal I was. Kylie and I will be forever grateful. Dante Williams. Sarah pinned the photo to her bulletin board, next to her commendations and photos with city officials. To her, this picture, of a father and daughter reunited, of a life redeemed, was worth more than all the medals in the world, because that's what justice really meant. Not just punishment for wrongs committed, but opportunity for wrongs to be righted. Not just protecting people from criminals, but protecting people from becoming criminals in the first place. And sometimes, the most powerful thing a person in authority can do is remember their own humanity, and the humanity of those who've forgotten theirs.